welcome to Does This Still Work? The podcast looks always and asks, does this still work? I'm Joe Dixon.
And I'm George Romeka. And today we're discussing Down by Law from 1986 and some historical context. First, podcasty stuff. We're excited to announce that we've joined the Creator Accountability Network. CAN is a nonprofit dedicated to reducing harassment and abuse through ethical education and a system of restorative accountability. We joined because we care about the safety and well-being of our community members. If you feel our behavior or content has harmed someone, please report it to CAN, either via the reporting form on their website, creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org, or via their hotline at 617-249-4255. They'll help us make it right and avoid repeating that mistake in the future. CAN also needs volunteers from our communities to help with their work, so if you have skills you think would be helpful, or time and a desire to help, please visit their website to find out how you can volunteer. Most importantly, get the word out to other creators who you think would be interested in getting credentialed. Help us build safer communities together. Speaking of CAN, on January 8th, CAN will be holding its annual fundraiser. Joe and I will be participating in a virtual staged reading of the play Monster by Marshall Logan Gibbs. More details on that to be announced. But
do we even know what parts we're playing?
Not yet, but if you can give money to CAN, that's a good time to do it. So you can reach us at dtswpod@gmail.com, on Facebook, Letterboxd, and on our YouTube channel. Joe is on Blue Sky at joedixon.bsky.social. Please tell your friends about us, even the ones who can barely speak English, and leave 5-star ratings everywhere.
That would be the both of us.
Yeah, judging by our outtakes. You can pick what we watch and get extra per episode content by funding us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/dtswpod.
Now, George, take us back to 1986.
Okay.
And this is the way it was.
This film involves at least one protagonist, a radio DJ who can't hold down a job, being framed for murder before 3 protagonists escape from prison in Louisiana. So let's look at murder framing, a prison break, and a story about radio personalities.
Sure. Sounds good.
Joe, give us his first headline from the January 31st, 1986 edition of the Shreveport Journal of Shreveport, Louisiana.
Lawyer says Mons framed in murder of Boissier woman.
Boissier is a town in Louisiana. The victim wasn't murdered for being bossier than anyone.
Ah, very good.
The crime here is a heinous murder that I won't describe. The lawyer for the defendant spun a dubious tale of how a bar owner was stooping the defendant's wife and arranged the murderer to look like it was his fault to get him out of the way. Riveting soap opera material for sure, but was it true? Joe, give us another headline. February 7th, 1986 edition of the Shreveport Journal.
Key witness accuses attorney of fabricating murder frame story.
So no, it wasn't true. The lawyer concocted the whole thing to try and win for his client and to rescue his failing law practice.
That would probably do it.
If it worked.
Yeah, if it worked, yeah.
Ultimately, the murderous asshole was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. As far as I know, he's still there, just like the person who tried to escape and the people who helped him from this next story. Joe, give us our next headline from the News Star of Monroe, Louisiana.
FBI officials foil attempted prison break.
There was a television show in the 1950s called Have Gun Will Travel, starring Richard Boone as an Old West gun for hire named Paladin. James Dickerson, a former U.S. postal worker in Rochester, New York, called himself Paladin and advertised himself as a mercenary in Soldier of Fortune magazine. He was hired to be part of a team that would break Stephen Vento, a Philadelphia mobster in prison for drug trafficking, out of Lewisburg Federal Correctional Institution by the mobster's son. Unfortunately for all of them, the pilots they hired to evacuate the escapees via helicopter turned out to be FBI agents.
Oh, don't you hate when that happens?
Yep. And Dickerson also ended up being investigated for other mercenary operations. Like, the personal section of Soldier of Fortune magazine must be chock full of people engaging in criminal activity, right?
Or undercover cops.
Right?
Probably a mix of both.
Finally, let's see what some radio hosts were up to in 1986. Joe, give us our last headline from the Town Talk of Alexandria, Louisiana.
Radio personalities too drunk to talk.
This one's short, so I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
Albany, Georgia, from UPI. 3 radio personalities went on a New Year's Eve binge on the air to prove a point Tuesday, and the news director got so drunk that she could not walk a straight line or say the alphabet. A police officer gave hourly breathalyzer tests to news director Janice Gordon, disc jockey Jackson Riley, and announcer Ron Manny. All 3 got legally drunk, but colleagues said Gordon was the most intoxicated. The contest was part of a public awareness campaign by the 2 stations, which urged people who had too much to drink New Year's Eve to call the Albany Police Department, where officers were available to provide rides home. Gordon, drinking wine, Manny drinking beer, and Riley, who consumed vodka and grapefruit juice, began work at 6 a.m. and were to remain on air until 10 a.m., but only Manny managed to finish his shift, and he needed help to push the right buttons.
Well, that's never true of me. I always know the right buttons to push.
Right? At the end of the shift, the station sent the drunk employees home in cars driven by sober staff members.
Well, one would hope.
One would hope, right?
Would have been hilarious if all the staff members also drunk who drove them home.
And, I could point to this as being one of those few things that I could say, yeah, that's something cops could be actually really useful for. Right? If you're worried about people driving drunk, make cops available to drive drunk people home.
And certainly stop them as they are driving. Yeah, have you ever actually heard of radio programs? I've heard a couple with people getting, obviously as a stunt, them all getting drunk. Presumably it was real. Usually they do it around the holiday time when there are not that many listeners and it's just slow anyway. And clearly they don't want to be there. So I guess the station go ahead and have a few drinks.
I think we did that on the show at least once.
Yeah, but we're a podcast. I'm talking about broadcast radio.
But no, but then again, I haven't really sat and listened to radio programs in a long time.
Well, this is a while back, but yeah. At least I would listen to radio regularly. Now I'm just a podcast guy. But yeah, it's a stunt they've done quite a bit. Interesting, I guess. As interesting as drunk people can be.
Yep. Okay, Joe, let's talk about Down by Law.
Yes, let's do that. Okay, this is written and directed by Jim Jarmusch. And for the podcast, we've seen his work in Coffee and Cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also seen his work in Stranger Than Paradise, Dead Man, and Mystery Train. The blurbs by both IMDb and YouTube says, 2 men are framed and sent to jail where they meet a murderer who helps them escape and leave the state. That sounds more serious than it really is.
It does, but it's also 100% that's what happens in this movie.
Pretty much. Although, well, we'll get into it. But we never really see anyone murder anybody. It's just implied they murdered. But anyway, we'll get into it.
No, he admits that he murdered somebody.
Yeah, but, it's not like... Well, whatever. We'll get into it. Anyway, let's get into the characters that we're going to be discussing. The first one up is Zach. And he's played by Tom Waits. And for the podcast, we've seen him in Coffee and Cigarettes and The Fisher King. And both George and I have seen him in Mystery Men and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. And I've seen him in Shortcuts, Licorice Pizza, and The Cotton Club.
And I've seen him in The Outsiders.
Next up is Jack. That's right, there's a character named Zach and a character named Jack. I assume that's meant as a joke. Anyway, Jack is played by John Laurie. And for the podcast, we've seen him in The Last Temptation of Christ. And I've seen him in Stranger Than Paradise, that movie again, Get Shorty, and Desperately Seeking Susan. God, do you remember Desperately Seeking Susan at all? That was Madonna's first movie.
Because it's not in my list of things I've seen.
That's true, right, you don't list it, but it's... I haven't thought about that movie in years. Next up is Roberto. He's played by Roberto Benigni. And for the podcast, we've seen him in, again, Coffee and Cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Nicoletta. And she's played by Nicoletta Braschi, and I've seen her in Mystery Train.
Yep.
So let's get into the plot here. Okay. There isn't much of a plot to discuss. Zach, a pimp, gets set up by an acquaintance for a pedo charge after he goes to recruit a new sex worker, and the girl turns out to be wildly underage.
Boy, does that, right on the nose for today's political climate.
Yes. Later,
we've got
Epstein
Marjorie Taylor Greene being like, "Fuck, I shouldn't have supported Trump."
It's become a wacky world out there, but we're sticking to the picture here. Okay, so Jack is asked by a guy he knows to drive a car for him, which he does, but it turns out there's a dead body in the trunk. Now we see what happens with those two. We don't see Roberto getting arrested, but he's being charged with murder due to killing a man by accident during a card game that he was cheating at. Well, we never really get into how exactly he murders him. I think they mentioned he throws a bowl or something at him and accidentally kills him. Anyway,
sure.
Both Zach and Jack can't stand each other, which forces Roberto to play peacekeeper between them once they're all locked up together. It's Roberto's idea to escape, which they do. They are on the run endlessly into the Louisiana woods before running across Nicoletta, who lives in the middle of nowhere.
They're actually in Texas by that point.
I guess they're close to Texas, yeah.
They say they're in Texas.
It could have been anywhere. I mean, seriously, it's just barren land and trees. Well, I guess it isn't barren land if you see trees, but it's a lot of trees we see. Anyway, she instantly falls in love with Roberto. She's cugging up with this man who has been living in the forest for days, if not weeks, and must stink to high heaven. Is there a fetish for this? Are there women who like the scent of unbathed men who haven't brushed their teeth? I guess so. Anyway, Roberto stays with Nicoletta. Zach and Jack, meanwhile, head out to a road with two different paths, much like the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost that Roberto quotes earlier in the movie. The end. And I should say, for a cold open, the whole ice cream, we all scream ice cream, they say that. The three of them are bored, sitting in the jail cells, and they just start screaming out together and marching around.
And they get the rest of the prison to do that with them.
Yes. You hear the rest of the prisoners saying this. We never see them, we hear them, yes. Okay, let's get into the discussion. George, how does this picture differ from other prison break movies?
It doesn't really.
You don't think it does?
Because they all lack the one thing that all prison break movies should have if they're true to reality. The recapture of the fucking escapees. Because we have a lot of prison break movies where the escapees just get away with it. That almost never actually happens.
I guess for me, it's different from other prison break movies in the sense that it's really not about the prison or the prison break. I mean, we don't see how they break out. It's just, and we never see any.
No, it's literally they're like, no, we want to go play outside. Okay, and then they're escaped.
It is different to me. Do you consider these guys' lives better after they went to jail and then escaping? Do you think their lives have improved from where they were previously? We only really see the two of them, Zach and Jack's lives. We don't know what Roberto's was like other than him wandering around the backwoods before he gets into his gambling thing, which we don't see. But we do see him wandering around and talking to people.
I mean, I would argue that Roberto's life definitely probably improved. Because Nicoletta is really cute. And so if he didn't have somebody and now he has a Nicoletta, that's an improvement.
Okay.
For the other two, we don't see their lives. We see them starting their life by walking away from each other.
Right.
Like, that's it. We don't
one
see.
Is a pimp, and the other is just a DJ or something.
The DJ guy is textbook ADHD, just wrecking his life. He can't hold down a job. He keeps going from radio station to radio station. He's good at it, but he's not responsible. So he gets fired. Like, that doesn't happen in a vacuum. We see the relationship he's in disintegrating at the start of the movie.
That's right, yes.
A not healthy one, really. They both have
questionable relationships with the women. We both see them with women.
Well, yeah, one uses them as a product, and the other one is I don't even remember him so much as her. Like she's really screamy and throwy things and breaking shit, and then
threw all this stuff out in the street.
Yeah, and then but I really don't want to break up, and can't you just commit to it? And he's like, no, and then she goes off again. So these guys. I didn't care about them. Couldn't.
Well, do you think the film has anything to say about masculinity? For a movie centered on criminals in jail, it's surprisingly, even though the two guys fight, they're not that violent. They really don't seem to really want to hurt each other.
I mean, they do try to hurt each other at one point. They do, like, put their hands on each other. They
do put their hands on each other, but I don't get the impression. I mean, the way they fight, maybe it's just the actors, but the way they were fighting, it didn't seem like they were really going out of their way to harm one another. But maybe that's something he says about the acting rather than the reality of the situation. I don't know. But if you were trapped in prison with these guys, would you not? I mean, I'd be the safest I've ever felt. They're not racist. There's no, I know they get their little fights, but they're not particularly violent. They don't. Yeah, they seem like pretty normal, cool guys, despite one being a pimp at least, which is generally not the nicest profession.
No, and both of them, and those two were both set up.
They're both set up, yes.
Like, they didn't even do, I mean, one was a pimp, yes, which is a crime, but the crime was getting caught with a and that was, what was it in, what was the other movie we were watching? Oh, in fucking Coffee. With I've got a girl that you need to see. You need to meet this woman. Like, weird cross between those two movies having that same thread in it.
Yeah, that is an interesting crossover. It's true. But again, getting back to the jail thing, do these guys, they do not come off as hard, and I think it's written that way specifically.
They're not hardened criminals. They haven't been in prison long enough to be hardened.
Well, not dangerous. Again,
and
these are not people you were being in jail with.
And DJ guy wasn't a criminal.
No, he wasn't. True. Although I guess he could have been arrested for loitering and stuff, because he does sit around in front of places a lot.
Oh, he could have been arrested for fucking drunk driving, since he was literally taking swigs out of an alcohol bottle while driving.
That's true, right. He also drinks quite
They didn't need to find a dead body in the trunk.
It's never explained why they're set up by the people who set them up. They just do it.
I don't think he was intentionally set up. I think he was hired to drive the car, and the other guy wanted that body disposed of, and he wasn't going to take the risk himself. So he hired DJ guy to do it, and then DJ guy got pulled over and caught.
DJ guy is Zach, isn't he?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't care enough.
I think he's Zach and the other one's Jack, right? Whatever. Anyway, how does the New Orleans setting and the black and white cinematography contribute to this film's tone and atmosphere? For me, this is the best part of the film, is how beautiful it looks.
Sure.
Okay. That's all you got?
I'm thinking back to the movie, trying to...
You don't remember how it looks? That was my...
No, I mean, I did. I remembered it being black and white, but it was just a black and white movie from a guy that likes to make black and white movies.
Didn't really grip you.
No.
I thought it looked very nice. It looked very peaceful, serene. But beyond that, no. But I thought the film tone, I suppose it does set the tone of the movie, which is a very laid-back film, despite the subject matter of, a murderer and two guys, one accused murderer and a guy accused of being a pedophile, all breaking out of prison. Sounds like a really heavy movie, and it's not that. It is definitely very light.
And I don't see the relationship to the title.
Well, they are down by law. They're held down by the law.
They were held down by circumstances.
We'll say the law. Make it easier.
Okay.
Do the characters change by the end of the film, do you think?
No. There's no impetus to. There's no need to. Their behaviors leading up to their arrests weren't... One had been a pimp, presumably, for a long time, and the mistake he made was trusting somebody that he didn't trust. Like, he was already, looking side-eye at the guy that was making this pitch to him, like, I should just fucking put a bullet in your head rather than trust you, but I'll trust you this one time. It was the one time he shouldn't have. And the other one was doing a favor for somebody for $1,000 or so. Like, there's no reason, they're going to have to change their behaviors because now they're escaped convicts or escaped criminals. They haven't gone to trial, so they haven't been convicted yet. But now they're going to when they inevitably get caught again, they're going to go to trial for the original crimes and escaping prison.
Which reminds me, you had, I didn't know this, and I wonder how much of the audience does. I mean, you've said it before on the show, but I'd be interested in you repeating it. What is it? It's true, right? If you, in the military, you're expected to escape if you're...
Yeah, in the military, you have a duty to escape. You have once you are captured, your number one priority is to escape, is to return to your outfit or return to friendly forces. Because if you are still being held, number one, you are not able to do your job, whatever your job was in the military. Number two, you are available to be used as a bargaining chip against your country. So your job is to remedy that. And the way you remedy that is to fucking escape.
And I know it's true in quite a few, at least European countries. I don't know about Asia.
That they expect you to try and escape. Because who the fuck wants to be locked up?
And unless you hurt someone in your escape, they don't give you more time for it. Because obviously, if you're trying to escape and shoot the guard, then you'll be charged for shooting the guard. Yeah. But if you escape and don't harm anybody, all right, we understand why you'd want to escape. You're going back to jail, but we get it. People being people.
One of the worst things about our fucking culture is how we expect people to behave as though everything's okay in scenarios where it's not okay. We expect prisoners to accept being prisoners, which isn't a normal human state of mind. We expect people who haven't done anything wrong to allow the police to manhandle them. Like, we have a toxic and dangerous level of deference to authority in this country.
Well, we like punishment very much in this country. I think it might be part of our religious tradition. We really like the idea of someone, authority figure, generally punishing people and expecting the person not to respond to the injustice. It's
even though every single person, down to a one, once you become that person, you don't want to go along with it anymore. But nobody seems to want to just put that into code. To make laws based on what people actually do and want.
Okay, this is a short movie, so it's going to be a short discussion unless you want to add anything.
I got none.
All right. So, final question then. Does it still work?
Yeah. I mean, it was entertaining. And it's not problematic in any real way that I could tell. It's ambiguous in its morality. But, fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think it still works. There's nothing really you could find particularly offensive in it. Like I said, there are no racial slurs. There's no questionable sexual scenes or anything. Even the pimp, he's not abusive to his prostitute. At least we don't see him hitting her and touching her in any inappropriate way. At one point, he gives her a gun and she points it at him. So who knows? It's hard to say this is offensive or a bad movie anyway. You might be bored by it. I think some viewers should know that, or listeners should understand that. I don't know. Because again, it's set in a prison, but it's not a typical prison movie. It's not overly violent. It's not particularly offensive. And it's really just more of a character study of these three guys. You don't see any of the other prisoners.
It is a very dialogue-driven movie.
100%, yeah. And it's very much about these three guys, and then they escape, and we see and it's a long part of the movie where they're just hanging out in the middle of nowhere, sometimes bickering with each other, but they're still just there, and then they pop into different places to hang out, and then eventually they meet Nicolette. That goes on a little bit, and then that's the end of the movie. Not much more to it. So there isn't much more we can say. So we're just going to move on. George, what's up next?
Next week is a Patron's Choice episode. The patrons were given a slate of 3 Harvard-themed movies: The Paper Chase from 1973, With Honors from 1994, and How High from 2001. And the patrons voted and picked How High from 2001.
Good job, everybody. I haven't seen the movie. Maybe it's great. But I mean, The Paper Chase and With Honors, I think, have much better Rotten Tomato scores. I like to not, so it should be interesting.
Well, If you want to vote in these things, but are not a patron, you can fix that by becoming one at patreon.com/DTSWpod.
Yes, and when you vote, please consider what you're doing to me and George.
Well, I mean, you could do that by giving them options that aren't going to drive us insane.
The thing was Harvard. That was the only other one I could find that we hadn't already done. Anyway, so I guess that's it for this episode. I'm Joe Dixon. Thanks for listening.
And I'm George Romeka. Thanks for listening indeed, because if a podcast drops and there's nobody around to hear it, it's just another collection of ones and zeros that doesn't matter.
You've been listening to Does This Still Work? Produced by Joe Dixon and George Romeka. This content is CAN credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm on their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org. The hosts can be reached via social media, email, or the contact page at dtswpod.com. Be good to yourself and others, because that still works.
Well, if you can't hear the motorcycle in the background, can you hear anything?
No. From No Stupid Questions. Hotels make me want to masturbate way more than usual. What's up with that? Alright, from Stupid Questions. If plain water, quote, isn't that hydrating, then why doesn't water naturally have electrolytes in it? So from Random Questions. How often do you trip and fall onto the ground as an adult? So back to No Stupid Questions. How do you say shut the fuck up in the most polite manner possible? From Stupid Questions. Why is it that we could tame a predator species like cats, but not others like foxes or big cats? And finally, Random Question. Have you ever been surrounded by so many people but still feel lonely?